This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
If Rabindranath Tagore were alive today, which form would he be in? I'm curious. I mean, would he have a shaven look? Would he have headphones on him, embracing technology? Because he's a man who really was open to the newer ideas. Would he have been writing his poems on famine, on drought, on the agrarian crisis? What do you think?
Well, really, it's impossible to say. He was, of course, very open to technology, and he was a great polymath, so I expect he'd be doing an enormous variety of things, and certainly encouraging people to come together and to work together, be tolerant of each other, as he always did.
Right, and that's so beautiful, isn't it? Because somebody's perception of Tagore is that he's an artist, he's a poet, and he can't be anything more. There's somebody else who thinks he was somebody who embraced technology, who was so inclined to science. What's your thought?
I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think you can...
They go together?
You can be an artist who also embraces science, and you can have a fascination with different religions and poetry and still be into, still be on...
into drama or theatre or agriculture or whatever.
Absolutely, and supportive of that industry.
Sure.
Yeah, I think even without headphones, he can through his music, through his poetry, he can very much be the modern and the
musical
as musical.
Lovely. Your thought?
I think he'd be singing and giving us all his songs still.
Lovely. He would have been singing, and
He was unique at the time that he was living.
Yeah.
There's nothing he didn't cover.
Yeah.
I think he would be as appropriate today as he was then.
Right. Is there an emotion that comes to your mind when you think of him?
Yes, very much so.
Which is?
All-encompassing. There is nothing that he can't cover, and it doesn't matter what mood I'm in, what subject I'm debating on, he will have said something somewhere.
It's very known in Bengal, especially that you cannot have any mood. Even if you're sad, if you're happy, you are jubilant or whatever, there's no time of which Rabindranath Tagore has not written something. In each of the phases that a man goes through, there's one or the other songs or poetry or something which helps you relate to Tagore.
And he's touched upon every emotion, every aspect of living, of life, and celebration of life.
Death, religion, patriotism, education,
What's your
agriculture.
favorite? Do you follow, even today, do you really follow his writings? Is there any favorite? Is there something you want to recite, sing?
Have you read Crisis and Civilization?
No.
It is as relevant today as it was, I think, in 1940 when he wrote it.
I'll be happy if any of you could tell us about any personal experience where you've been touched or something that you sing along.
Quite easily, when my father passed away 25 years ago. That was the only thing that could console me.
But how did Tagore help you when you were in your moment of grief, even without being there?
Deal with death as a part of life, and the fact that these things will happen to us, but you will overcome it. I mean, he lost so many of his own beloved family, and he taught us how to get over it, basically, or learn to live with it.
Oh, that's lovely.
Tagore quotations open every chapter in Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's On Death and Dying, because she said nobody had thought more on death than Tagore. Yeah, absolutely.
Death through his way of life, through his way of writings, how very beautiful. You said you would imagine him to be singing today. He was also somebody who spoke at length and elaborated about his love for the sun, for the creation, and how he even thought that perhaps picking a flower was aggression. Do you impose any of his teachings at all in your living?
Well, having directed the post office and staged the post office in London, what everybody has just been talking about, the encompassing of death within life, is such a teaching for all of us.
Lovely. He lives on, and for many particularly from the Bengali community, he perhaps is the way of life. We are here at the Nehru Centre in London, which is the cultural wing of the High Commission of India, and it's very interesting that with me are Bengalis who are discussing the relevance of Rabindranath Tagore. Now, every time I ask a question to many people of Indian origin here on who they thought was the finest ambassador to the world from India, many, perhaps 7 out of 10 have said Rabindranath Tagore. Yeah. Is he just a notion? Is he relevant today? Or is he a thought today in the minds of people?
Well, he's everything to me. And I think he was that, everything to India, from the minute he came out of India and he came into the world. He himself initiated it.
What is that one emotion that Rabindranath Tagore is somebody you would make synonymous to? Maybe have silence, please. Yes.
I think he's just, you know, a very expansive idea.
I'm curious, if he were here today amidst us, would he be a politician? Would he be a scientist? Would he continue to be an artist, a thought? What do you think he would be if he were?
He would be a poet. He was a poet, and he had enough chances. He was quite a celebrity, at least in Bengal.
He still is. He has what, the more number of busts than any other Indian here in London.
That's right, but in his time he dabbled into politics and withdrew from it because he couldn't stand the institutional politics of any kind, and I don't see him doing politics.
Perhaps he'd still be doing politics through his poems.
I see him quite differently. I see him as a world citizen, and his relevance is more pressing today in a society where there's so much intolerance and discord, and his poetry, his writing, his thought processes are so meaningful, and it's a shame that it's well, there's a revival of it, but it needs to increase more
in a bigger way.
Yes.
In a bigger way. And you?
For me, he is first and foremost and finally an artist.
Okay.
There's only an artist can realize the potential of man, potential of the world. Or what I liked about this seminar is that these people, they have studied, they have endeavored to understand him in their own way. And what emerged finally, that he's an artist.
Sure.
Because when someone was talking about environmental issues, if one listens to his songs and even to his poems, you will understand that like the Sufis and the Bauls, he understands that God can fulfill himself through his presentation and through his incarnation within the nature, and that is within man.
Since we're talking so much about his poems, and perhaps he's more than an artist, he's more than a thought perhaps, would you like to sing for us in Bengali anything that you remember?
No, not sing, but can I make a comment on this question?
Go on.
I myself am a scientist, and that's why I am in this country, or I've retired now, but I used to be a scientist for many, 30 years or more.
Right.
And in my opinion, if Tagore was alive today, I think he would have wanted to be a scientist. He was always very much interested in the phenomenal world and in connecting it with his artistic hunches,
Yeah.
And the enormous scientific developments that have happened in the last 150 years, I think that would have stunned him and bowled him over completely.
You know, my job doesn't allow me to give my personal opinion. I'm meant to do the job of he says, she says, but I'm forced to give mine as well here, where I would have thought perhaps that he would have been an agrarian, somebody who, through his poems, who would obviously continue to write his poems, through his poems, remind the people of the importance of agriculture, of the importance of land, of the importance of growth. given in a country like ours, which celebrates the sun really, and from the country where we are and how we crave for the sun. I would imagine that he would be doing that, but that would be just a tiny part of what he would be doing, because that's the beauty of Rabindranath Tagore, isn't it? Thanks very much for joining us on this. Write your feedback to ooe@ndtv.com. Radhika Iyer, signing off.